Welcome, everybody, to another rendition of The Lone Wolf Show. I'm the Lone Wolf, and you are watching Witchcraft TV, www.witchcrafttv.online, and we have a special series of the WitchCon presenters. And I have a special guest backstage, but before then, we're going to roll that intro. Okay, well, that intro seems like have a little bit of problems, but we still have the special guest, and we're going to bring her on right now. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, there goes the intro. We're going to cut right back up. We just gave it all away. Hold on. Okay, fair enough. I didn't hear any audio with that. Now, sometimes the tech gremlins get involved with it. It's not an easy task to hold Witchcraft TV for our community worldwide. It's not a it's a hard task. How are you doing, Francis Martinez? Did I say your name right?
Yes, I am doing great. And yes, you said my name right.
So thank you so much for coming on the Lone Wolf Show and talking to us about that you're going to be presenting at WitchCon. I heard this through the grapevine. Is that true?
Yes, I will be presenting this year at WitchCon the Fourfold Goddess.
The fourfold goddess. Um, okay, right off the bat, a lot of times I'm familiar with like the threefold goddess, like mother, maiden, and crone. Is this? Tell me more about that.
Okay, so the Fourfold Goddess, it comes from my Celtic teachings. I did a lot of traveling in England back in 2023, in which I explored the concept. And it is the same, except in this one, we have another concept, which is the warrior, which comes into this equation.
So does the warrior part of that fourfold, does that come? Where does that come into the mother, maiden, and crone aspect? Does it come in between something or?
Yes, it comes in between the mother and the crone aspect. It is a representation of the woman that is already in their maturity, that already has their family, especially those female practitioners that have families, in that aspect of self empowerment, of overcoming challenges, of embracing that aspect that all women that embrace the goddess have.
And the warrior aspect, is that a particular stage of life that you're now experiencing, or how do you reconcile that?
So I reconcile it according to Celtic teachings. It is in between the mother and the crone because in that aspect the woman has already been through the maiden stage, which is the innocent, the fresh stars in the step in life that I am advancing, that I am learning. So it really comes in between that maturity in that aspect in which the woman has already lived, has been gone through the maiden, has been gone through the mother, and it's now in between this aspect of mother between crone. So it is between the mother and the crone aspect.
Where exactly did you get this whole epiphany, or um, where did this come to be in your spirituality, in your path?
Well, since I was a child, I was always drawn to the craft. I did a sense when I was 10 years old with my brothers and my stepbrothers. And after that, I just love mythology, reading about like these great British legends, King Arthur, Morgana, and basically I went from there studying that. and I got deep into these Celtic teachings, and that is when I found this particular, because everybody knows the three four goddess, like that is the maiden, the mother, and the crone. But then it really caught my attention when I came across this, and I studied it, and I study it, and I practice it, and I embrace it, and I teach it forward to my students, to people, and I now have the opportunity in WishCon and sharing it here in Witchcraft TV with you all.
Is the majority of your students are they in Puerto Rico, or are they in America? Are they in Europe? Are they everywhere? And also, how would one get in touch with you if they felt this pulse of the warrior goddess, and uh, in conjunction with the three aspects?
Yes. Okay. So my students, I have some in Puerto Rico, which I meet with them weekly. But I also have some in the States. I have one in North Carolina. I also have two in Philadelphia. What I do is I do Zoom meetings. I also use social media and Telegram so that I can keep connected to the locals here and also to my other students abroad.
So in your bio, it says that you're always enjoying new places, exploring new places, deepening your magical practice, and learning from different rich diversities of different cultures. Where have you been physically on the planet? And can you tell me about some of those experiences?
Yes, so basically, I got my formation here in Puerto Rico. I got formed in shamanism, and I traveled to England. I went to Glastonbury, Cornwall. I also went to France. I've been to Mexico to see the pyramids. So I've been a little bit into Central America. I went to Honduras, and every time that I have traveled, it's always been to continue to learn, to take new roles, so that I can continue to like share my knowledge and teach others, but also like keep myself like in innovating myself.
Out of all those places that you said, which one do you think was the most magical, magnificent place?
So after my hometown in Puerto Rico, because we have a lot of history here between the Spaniards, the African, the Indians, I would say England. Like that's where I felt like my second home.
Did you go to Stonehenge?
I did. It was amazing. Like there are a lot of beautiful energy and the ravens. It was very beautiful.
So when you went to Stonehenge, you saw ravens there.
Yes.
That's I like that. That's really
They
really
started flying around me, so it was like even more magical. Like, hey, I'm here for the first time. I feel the energy of like this ancient energy, because like the Stonehenge has so much history, like going back, and then like being surrounded by ravens. It was a very beautiful and empowering experience.
I think it's also very beautiful and empowering that you are very diversive, and that you are a practitioner of magic, not only in Puerto Rico, but also shamanism, Wicca, ceremonial magic, Norse and Celtic magic. How do all those, how do all of those, as you think there's a universal type of teaching, or do you learn different things from different geographical and time periods?
So it's more than universal teachings, but I also been learning different crafts like in different times of my life. There was a year that I fully studied shamanism, like connecting with the drum, then dedicating myself to Celtic and even like Catholic magic, because like you can work with the saints and whatnot. So something that I tell my students is that it is what connects with your spirit, and what that which brings you peace and can empower you, because that is like the like what I say, that is the true calling, that what makes you feel good about yourself.
When you accept new students, um, as a teacher, what is some of the first things that you bestow or teach them?
Well, the first thing that I teach them is first integrity, but first with themselves. Like, take what resonates with you, ask questions, and just like to see that integrity, and also like proactive. I like proactive people that are like learning on the fly. And if they're not learning on the fly, that is fine. I will be there to facilitate in the way that I can facilitate towards them. So those are things like the integrity with themselves and also like their willingness and what they like. And you can recognize, you can see when people are just coming to see like, what is this about? But you can see also when people are like really drawn to it. And those are the types of students, those with integrity, willingness, and like that passion for the craft.
What does integrity mean to you?
Integrity, wow, that can vary from people to people, but to me it is some, it's about being true to yourself, doing what feels right to your gut. Maybe what feels right to you is not going to be right to the other person, but like do what feels right to you, that which brings you peace. That is my definition of integrity.
And what would be a good example of learning something on the fly?
Like, okay, so for example, I was doing a couple of weeks ago, I was doing like this class like on herbology, on plants. I was teaching my students like how you can touch the plants and you can feel their energy, like their roots, if there's something, like if there's something on the plant, what is it asking you? Because it is a living being. And there was somebody that said like, you know what, I don't think that this is classes for me because I don't get it. And I was like, you know what, you're being honest, that's okay. So like this student was more into cooking witchcraft, so like they're being honest, they're saying like, thank you for this, but this is not the type for me, and that's okay. Like that makes you, that's integrity, and that's also being vulnerable, which is a strength.
So, in your bio, it says that you're passionate about guiding others on their personal and spiritual paths, helping them connect to their inner power and wisdom when not teaching or writing. So, it seems like you try to not bestow your spirituality on your students, but try to get them to come into their own spiritual power. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
I think that's very.
I was a manager for 11 years. I used to be a general manager. So like you, like as a general manager before like going fully into the craft, I would say I would be, there would be different types of people, different ages. So like I would guide and see what was the best way to connect to each, because as a leader, like yes, people are gonna follow you, but also as a leader, are you also molding yourself so that you can get a, like, if not everybody, like almost everybody there. So it is something that I have been very passionate about.
And when you're teaching, do you have a particular platform that you teach on? Do you have a website?
So where I teach, I mostly use Zoom. I'll use Zoom. I use Teams. I am currently working on a website. It is still like in process, and but mostly I use those two.
Are you a published author at all? Have you been published?
Yes, I do, and I actually have three of my books here. I published three. They're actually on Amazon right now. So there is this two, which this one is the habits of a highly powerful wish. And basically in this one, I'm combining like basic knowledge, like how to make cyballs, but also like the chakras of the world, but also like blending it a little bit with that administration part. Like there is this book that really inspired me, which is called The Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. So basically, it was like an inspiration. Like, if you could make like a witchcraft video, like book about that, it would be this one. Okay. And it talks about like the discipline, because also in your craft, like it doesn't have to be perfect, but how can you keep your tools in order, keeping them clean as best as you possibly can, of course.
In your opinion, what is the most powerful tool of a witch?
The most powerful tool is actually yourself. Everything else is just an extension of you. If you are in your center and you are good, there is nothing that you are not capable of doing. Everything else is important, right? Because the tools are important, but they're merely an extension of what you are and what you have inside.
So my next question has to do with how did you get involved with WitchCon itself? How did you first hear about WitchCon and how did you get invited to be a presenter and how did that play out for you?
So since thank you for asking, since I'm very curious and I like to travel, it was about 2020 where I went to my first Hex Fest. I just found it on the web. I love New Orleans because I watched the originals back then. Like And so basically going from there, I met a lot of great people, Christian Day, Brian, a lot of cool people. And after that, I just started going every year, like first learning, seeing like the atmosphere, the energy. And then I was like, I'm ready to extend myself. So that is when when I applied and I went for the WishCon overall after I started in 2020 visiting Hexfest and then also going to the WishCon as well. I first it was Hexfest and then it was WishCon.
So you've been to New Orleans and the United States. What's the most memorable place in New Orleans that you remember going?
Oh, I love it. I love going to New Orleans. Like I love the Mississippi River, and I think that is overall the French Quarter, like that history, that energy, and it actually connects a little bit like to the old San Juan in Puerto Rico. And the reason why I say that is because I was going through one of these cemetery tours the first time I went over there, and the guys basically like compared that the cemeteries how they were built in New Orleans. The only other place that they're built like that is in Old San Juan. So that really like I was already making that connection, and then when the guy shared that, I was like, okay. So it was like feeling also at home.
So you've been like all through the French Quarter. You've been through Bourbon Street. You went to. Did you get a chance to go to Marie Laveau's place in the Cemetery One?
I did. I did.
Can
Yes.
you tell me about that experience of when you went to her tomb?
It felt like surreal, especially knowing like her story. Like I see her as one of the empowering women figures whether you are a practitioner or non-practitioner because of her story, like very powerful and very smart and clever she was.
So they have an old thing in New Orleans that when you visit Marie Laveau, you etch three X's on her tomb and you spin three times and you make a wish and different things or a spell or and things. And there's like an offering at the foot of her tomb. There's three different tiers to who's on that particular tomb. Did you leave any offerings or anything there?
I did. I was walking around with flowers that I was like saw them pretty and I got them for myself. But then I was like, there's something else for this purpose because I'm not gonna take this on the plane. So as I was doing my tour, when I got there, I was like, okay, so that is why I got the flowers. It was actually for an offering. So it really like connected, and I did do the X and the jumping, and it was a great experience.
So you bought them for yourself and you say, well, hold up, this don't belong to me, it belongs to you. I like that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Basically, yes.
What other kind of magic do you think it was there in New Orleans? Did you feel it like a pull from like? Do you feel? Did you feel anything when you was in New Orleans? Like you just was it like a? I don't know. How did you feel when you were there? Did it feel different than regular consciousness in different places, or did you tap into like? Because there's a lot of history in New Orleans for sure.
It was like I was there before. Maybe not on this lifetime, that first time that I went, but I felt like I was already there before. That was the sense that I felt once I got there the first time.
So you said that you're a published author and you showed your book before. You have one publication, correct?
I have actually three publications. That was the first. I also have this shadow workbook. This one is actually that you can fill it out. And this one has like different questions daily, going into questions like did you feel safe? Why not? Going into that inner child work, also that shadow work, those things that are kept inside that are not admitted publicly, but they are still there. So basically, the concept of this book is actually integrating those thoughts, those things that you don't share. It also has a vision board. So like it is like at the end, you start working through this shadow, and once you get to the end, you can make your own vision board on how it is what you want life to be like. So like I always say that things are created twice. They're first created in your head when you get an idea or a goal, and then you bring them forward. But in order to be brought out and forward, they must be created here first so that you have a clear picture and it can be brought. So basically this book works with that, like embracing those shadow aspects, but also in a way that you integrate them and you can achieve your goals.
Shadow work is, to me personally, it's like a new agey kind of concept, but I think that shadow work is a concept that is a lot older than kind of new age and maybe have been called something different. And I know that a lot of it seems like a lot of Carl Jung psychology. Have you ever studied Carl Jung and the psychology of Carl Jung?
I actually have not, and that is thank you for bringing that up because that is something that I will definitely look into it.
Very cool.
And I also have the third book. This one is currently in Spanish. I
Mhm.
wrote this one with my mentor. He passed away on 2024, but he contributed so much to my teachings. He was the one that like guided me toward England, like these places and everything. And this one basically covers like the priestess and the priestess, the priest and the priestess, and it talks about different aspects like from basic magic to different type of rice, from the left hand path, the right hand path. So it's basically like a compendium, something that it will give you a brief teaching from whichever hand path you are, but something that keeps you like in between.
So in Puerto Rico, in comparison to the United States, and particularly in the southern states, not necessarily like Midwestern South like New Orleans, but places like Georgia or the Carolinas, there's a lot of Christian white nationalism that happens in the United States where it's very oppressive for Wiccans, for magic users, for witches. Does that type of oppression exist in Puerto Rico at all?
Actually with currently with magic, even though Puerto Rico is Catholic, it's actually quite diverse and quite open. It is more towards like women rights, like abortions and things like that, that they focus mostly in politics. But like with witchcraft, it's actually a pretty cool place. Like everybody has their own their own beliefs, and everybody has their own covens and things. So in that area, it is pretty diverse compared to like these other states. And I have seen videos of riots and things like that. So I can understand basically what the states are going to, but in here it's not like that.
When did you first realize that you had a flame and fire for the craft?
So when I first realized that I was a kid, I saw my first spirit. And after seeing that, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And basically, it was that my mother also, when she was younger, she used to go like she used to work with saints and whatnot. So I basically grew up watching this. But the great thing like about my parents, my family, is like they don't impose religion. It was all to my free will of choosing. And then when I was like 12, 13 years old, I did my first science. I remember grabbing a crystal balls with my brothers and doing that to see which spirit was visiting there. And that's what I knew when I was a kid, that this is it. Like this was for me.
You seem very educated on different gods and goddesses and pantheons across the world. What patriarch god and goddess do you work with?
My favorite, well, I have two. First is Morgan Le Fay, and then Lilith.
Morgan Le Fay and Lilith. And they're both the feminine archetypes of uh, the goddess. Do you have a masculine form of the god that you endure or work with, or do you just specifically work with feminine goddess spiritual goddesses?
So
Excuse me.
I work with, no, it's okay. I work with Ra, the Egyptian god Ra. I also work with Anubis and with Thor. Those are my three favorite male gods.
Why are you drawn to that particular pantheon with them? Why are you drawn to them?
So it was actually thanks to my mentor. He was the one that introduced me basically to the male gods that like on that part. And I really like that masculine energy. It is very different, like the feminine energy, the masculine energy. And whether you are a female or male, we have both things like female, masculine. So it is about diversity and blending it. Each practitioner has their different types of beliefs and preferences. There are some that work only with women, some work with men, but I feel that both are important and that they are integrated.
Are your students of the crafts predominantly male or female or both?
I have both, but currently the most that I have right now are female ones.
If you would give advice to someone in the craft and they were younger and they were a bit cowan and misguided, what would be your first advice to them, to if they you could see that same fire and flame that I see in you?
The first thing that I would say them is trust what you feel. Your body will always tell you whether it's a right place or not a right place. Does this place bring you peace, happiness, excitement? This is it. But if you get like this itchy feeling, I don't know, there's something there, like your higher self is already speaking to you, whether you are new or not. So I would say like listen to your body and how you feel. And that is gonna be your compass on knowing if this is right for you or if this is not right for you.
So you've written three different books. Two of them are in English, one is in Spanish. Do you have ideas or goals to write a fourth?
I am. I'm currently writing the BDSM and witchcraft. Basically, I'm already on chapter 11. It's already in process. And in that one, I'm combining that BDSM world with witchcraft because they are both different types of aspect, but they're both about ritualistic. There is a type of obedience. There is a type of control. There is a type of discipline. So I'm currently writing that one. I will be publishing it by probably by April or May. I really went to have that book done. I really went into pages, research, different things because like I want to give that taboo, but not taboo type of information to followers.
Now, BDSM is kind of something that I'm familiar with, but I really like to know, what is your definition of BDSM?
It's about my definition is trust and surrender. That is how I would define that because you in whichever role that you're choosing, whether it's a submissive or a dominant, there is a trust here going on first, right? Before doing this. That is more beyond sexual. And if you combine, like for example, role work, like there is not magic as well. Like these two things are very different yet so familiar. So that is what I say like when I ask a definition, trust and also surrender. And when I say surrender, it is about like we think that we have control over everything, or like some people do. Like I speak for myself, but in the end, there are things that happen unexpectedly, and the more that you try to control something, it could make you miserable. However, when you surrender and you let go and you trust, there's a different type of peace, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to do it.
In your new book with BDSM, you talked about that you're on the 11th chapter. Going through all those chapters, have you already talked about tantric magic in any way in the book?
Not yet. I have not. I'm actually getting to that part. Tantric magic is actually very, very interesting because I am also forming that. I took a Tao and Tantric certification last year, and it is very different. Like relationships, relationships are also thought like you need to have an outcome, right? To say it like in that way, but tantric magic is more like about making a connection. It doesn't have to do with the ending. That is more in the in between, about enjoying each moment and connecting fully. If you're doing it by yourself, connecting fully with yourself, but if you're doing it with a partner, it is a different type of connection, like energetic connection, different than an ordinary encounter between two partners.
Thank you so much, Francis Martinez, for coming on the Lone Wolf Show on Witchcraft TV as a WitchCon presenter. Make sure everyone signs up for Francis Martinez's classes. And February 20th to 23rd is when WitchCon starts. Do you have any closing words of wisdom for our viewers here on the Witchcraft TV platform?
I actually do. First of all, thank you all for being here with me. It is a pleasure to meet the new people, also a pleasure to meet others. And what I say to everybody is trust what you feel. Even if you don't have a logical explanation, listen to your heart, listen to your mind and yourself, and that will be your compass.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you at WitchCon. Blessed it be.
Thank you. Blessed be.